All right, let's get into what happened yesterday. It was a historic day. Gary Woodland wins the Open, shoots the lowest score at Pebble Beach, won his first career major. A score of 271, surpasses Tiger Woods in 2000 for the lowest in U.S. Open history at Pebble Beach. It's also the second lowest for any U.S. Open, period. So Gil Capps from the Golf Channel was at Pebble Beach. Who is Gary Woodland? Is he somebody that people should keep an eye on? How impressive was he this weekend?
Really impressive, guys. By the way, am I the ninth caller, or do I need to hang up and call back? Try to get in on that prize package. That's quite one you guys got going there. Gary Woodland is right. He looks like a starting center fielder, right, or left fielder, right fielder for a Major League Baseball team. One of these guys who just doesn't look like you think a golfer should look like, right? And you look back at the last now 4 U.S. Opens, and they have all been won by this new type of player. Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka 2 years in a row, and now Gary Woodland. And winning the championship that you think, and at a place, Pebble Beach, that you would think wouldn't necessarily favor those types of guys. Long hitters, really strong, athletic. You think of them kind of as being not guys with great touch around the greens, but they do have great touch around the greens. And it really is kind of struck me as being a new dawn for golf, seeing these type of players handle places like Pebble Beach, that we talked about last week. Probably a place that would have more people in the mix, being not a very long golf course, only 3 par 5s, rough. I've seen a lot worse than the U.S. Open, but it was still pretty healthy. Small greens, really kind of a precision ball striking kind of course, and a course where you have to be able to make putts. Not necessarily one you think would favor those type of guys, and yet he was, at the end of the day, Gary Woodland and Brooks Koepka at the top. And I think Gary Woodland is one of those guys who was an athlete who became a golfer, maybe rather the other way around. They talked a lot about it being college basketball, Division II background, and kind of a late bloomer here. He's only won through the times, 35, and a guy who a lot of people had question marks, rightly so, going into Sunday. He'd never won a stroke play event on the PGA Tour with the lead going into the final round, but boy, he was. He out Brooks Koepka yesterday. His mental strength down the stretch, and a couple of those shots. Just the second shot into 14, hitting that green into one of the toughest par 5s in championship golf, and then the pitch there on 17, which was exquisite. And I can't tell you how easy it is to get a shot like that wrong, and all the professionals, all the tour players, champions tell you the same thing. That is under the circumstances. That is some kind of shot, because that you have to catch that. If you're off just millimeters on that, you're either catching it a little fat, a little thin. It has to be exactly perfect, and to do that there with a 2-shot lead. And then obviously it's icing on the cake there at 18. A great win for Gary Woodland, and it'll be interesting to see what it does with them. Some guys we've seen wins like this really propel them to really great things. Other guys we've kind of seen it just kind of be a culmination, they kind of level off or don't really go on to achieve a lot more. So that ball is in Gary Woodland's court going forward.
Yeah, and Gil, the Pebble Beach is an interesting one because a lot of it is a lot of time the short game there, and that's what ends up being that stands out in an event like this. You got Koepka charging after you. I think that's what makes it so much more impressive for a guy like Woodland, because you have a player like Koepka who has been so locked in, and that part of the game you could easily kind of fade off and on in that area. But the ability to hold off Koepka there when you have such a, when he's coming, he was locked in yesterday too.
Man, he came out firing, which is what you got to do at Pebble Beach. It's a strange golf course in the sense that the first 7 holes is where you got to do your scoring. We saw that all week. You got a couple shorter par 4s, really, really easy par 5. short par 3. The field is, I think, in the end kind of played around even par. And then you get from 8 to 18, you're just holding on by the seat of your pants, trying to get it in from there. And that's what makes it a little different to where it's almost 2 championships in one or 2 rounds in one. So you saw everybody kind of trying to hold on. And Brooks, wasn't quite, there's lost a little sharpness there on the back when you kind of turn it to a chasing mode to kind of a surviving where pars will wind up advancing you up the board. But Gary Woodland, held on phenomenally, and for only 4 bogeys the entire week for Gary Woodland, that matches the fewest number of bogeys or worse in a U.S. Open ever. And at Pebble Beach, where there is just trouble lurks everywhere with 9 holes along the cliffs and all those rough and small greens, hats off to Gary Woodland. He took the championship by the scruff of the neck and just pulled it right home to the finish.
Gil, Woodland's obviously the story, but Koepka, man, what he's doing is almost on another level here. I mean, he finished the final round 68. He became the first player in U.S. Open history with 5 consecutive rounds in the 60s. In his last 4 majors, he's the winner of the PGA Championship twice and second in the Masters and the U.S. Open. Just talk about what this guy's continuing to do here. There is no slowing down in sight.
Yeah, last 4 major starts, win second. I'm gonna give you the only 2 guys since the PGA Championship went to stroke play back in 1958. Only 2 guys have been top 3 in 4 consecutive majors. You may have heard of them: Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, and now Brooks Koepka. That is the company that he is in, and we talk about kind of where he is. I mean, I know Mike. We talked about Ricky Fowler and kind of his staying in the game and compared to Brooks Koepka, and Brooks Koepka maybe not kind of for the layman sports fan kind of is still kind of in the background a little bit just from the fact that these majors, but that's kind of it. He's only won 2 other times on tour, and not just that, he's rarely kind of a factor on the weekend in another PGA Tour event. You don't see him week in and week out, on network TV. But these majors, he just pops right up, and to be able to come to a major and that be your only focus and get your game up and play like he's done with kind of the pressure that not necessarily what other people put on you, right, but that you put on yourself. And the expectations when you're doing these press conferences now, and he's, in the last 6 months, much more candid and forthright in these things, showing much more of his personality and saying things like, look, I'm looking at double-digit major wins. That's my goal. I come to these things and think I should be the favorite. That self-pressure is as much hard to live up to as pressure from other folks. And golf isn't a game where you can just turn it on and turn it off. You can get to an event and not be playing well, and all of a sudden just turn it on. But Brooks Koepka is kind of doing that, rising to the big occasion, all these major championships, and it's absolutely incredible. I mean, I mentioned guys like Jack was able to do that, Tiger was able to do that, Ben Hogan to a certain extent back in the day. And by the way, I'm gonna get a little plug in. You guys like sports documentaries?
Oh yeah.
Ben Hogan tonight on Golf Channel, 2-night event. The mystique of one of the most famous players in the game, even if you're not a huge golf fan, the story behind this man and this enigma from his childhood to overcoming, a near-fatal auto accident is unbelievable. So I'll get that plug in. As I mentioned, the 3 greatest players most people think post-World War II, Hogan, Nicklaus, and Woods. Now you got a guy that's Brooks Koepka, who was never heralded out of college, went to Europe to have to play, and wound up coming to the PGA Tour, and now you're saying his name amongst these guys. It's incredible, and it may not stop. I'm going to give you a little inside tip. We're going to Royal Port Rush for the Open here next month. His caddy, Ricky Elliott, grew up at Royal Port Rush, knows the golf course inside and out. Right. So, he's going to be right at the top of that betting those betting favorites here in a month over in Northern Ireland.
What do we take from Tiger's weekend? He's always at the top of the intrigue list. I mean, played awful early, and then yesterday was locked in.
Wow, he had a lot of issues. I mean, I didn't see a whole lot of Tiger play, especially after Thursday. Had a very good puttering on Thursday, and after that, putter kind of cooled off until the last 12 holes on Sunday when he was out of it. All of a sudden, he birdied 6 of the last 12. Just didn't seem quite, his ball striking stats, Mike, were pretty good, but just didn't seem quite, as sharp as he needed to be. And as we mentioned, the greens at Pebble Beach are small, but you got to be in the right spot. And at Pebble Beach, a 20-foot putt going straight uphill is a putt that's much more makeable on mini greens than a putt half that length from above the hill or beside the hill with the breaks and the tilt on those greens at Pebble Beach. And Tiger didn't have enough of those. I think didn't leave him in a good enough position on a lot of holes to make those putts. But, we talked about this before as well. That Masters, as great as it was, I just hate to be the reality check. I think that's the aberration. 43 years old, to be contending in major championships, all of them, that's saying a lot. And then with Tiger's health, which is always kind of still a question, you kind of never know where he is in his life, everything that's going on, the importance now of family and kids and keeping healthy. I think miscuts in majors and finishes around 20th are going to be much more common than Tiger being in the hunt. I think Pebble's a little disappointed just because most of us thought it was a course that would kind of would play into his hands a lot more than these other major golf courses. Portrush, I'm not real sure. It kind of depends on what side of the draw you get and weather and how the breaks go your way. But that's the thing. I think we thought he would take the Pebble a little better than he did.
He shot a 269, birdied 6 of his last 12. Very good round for him, but Tiger out of it. But your winner is Woodland. And what a great day yesterday to close it off. He goes minus 13, Koepka minus 10. It was a lot of fun, and the shot on 17 was outstanding. It was a lot of fun on Father's Day to check out the Open like usual, and Gil Capps was a part of it for the Golf Channel. He joined us via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Thank you, Gil. Appreciate it as always, pal.
Mike, Ryan as well. We'll talk to you next month.